comfortable being on this video. This video will be aired on KNSJ at different times. We want this message of tonight not to be limited to 17 people. And so we thank Martin Eder, who's the head of KNSJ, for inviting us to record this so he can broadcast it again. And so I apologize for interrupting you. Yusef, please take it away.
No problem. Yes, you can show my picture here, and I'm Yusef Miller, and I don't care who knows it. So, Black Lives Matter. We're talking about a struggle which has began from the shores of Africa, and this resistance to colonization and enslavement has been a centuries-long tradition. A lot of people don't understand Black Lives Matter at its core and think we're only talking about what happens to Chauvin or what happens to George Floyd, our brothers and sisters in the struggle, but actually it goes all the way back to the shores of Africa. The revolts on the ships carrying the African precious cargo here to America was Black Lives Matter. The continued revolts and escapes in Hispaniola in 1497 to live and thrive with our indigenous brothers and sisters on that island was Black Lives Matter. The arrival of the North in North America in 1528 in Florida first, then in 1619 in Jamestown was Black Lives Matter. The joining of our Seminole brothers and sisters to fight against the US colonization of America was Black Lives Matter. The defense from enslavement and defiance of the enslaver for educating our children at the threat of death was Black Lives Matter. The escape into the Underground Railroad, which were surface roads to the northern free states and to Canada, and the southern route into Mexico was Black Lives Matter. In Mexico in 1821, Vincent Guerrero, the then president, issued an Emancipation Proclamation for the Africans in Mexico, and he himself was of African descent. That Vincent Guerrero's edict was Black Lives Matter. Yes, it was overturned in 1831, but then again, it was reinstated in 1847 because Black Lives Matter in Mexico. Although the Civil War in 1861 was not Black Lives Matter, and the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 was not Black Lives Matter, but when 180,000 people of African descent joined the Union Army to fight against the South, they fought to free their loved ones in the South. That was Black Lives Matter. 1865, Juneteenth, in Galveston, Texas, the celebration of African Americans coming out of physical chain bondage was Black Lives Matter. As you can see, Black Lives Matter builds on a tradition of struggle and defiance against oppression because simply we are Black. Supporting businesses is Black Lives Matter. Supporting schools is Black Lives Matter. Supporting communities is Black Lives Matter. Before they were destroyed, Wilmington, North Carolina, which was had a prosperous Black community, wealth in the Black community in 1898, but it was destroyed. Why did they build that wealth in this Black community? Because Black Lives Matter. The NAACP was founded at the turn of the century because Black Lives Matter. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street was founded in the mid-1800s and it was destroyed in 1921. Why did they build this wealth in the Black community? It's because Black Lives Matter. In Rosewood, Florida, the same thing happened at the turn of the century. And in 1923, it was destroyed. But what made Rosewood, Florida so wealthy? Concentration of Black wealth, because Black Lives Matter. And if Rosewood, Florida and Tulsa, Oklahoma is too far for our Californians to really wrap their arms around, we should think about Bruce Beach in LA, which was a Black beach. nicknamed the Ink Well. Can you imagine the wealth of a black beach in California? It was the black people there had their property taken away and it was given back to the city. La Jolla had a black quarter, and due to redlining in the turn of the century, the blacks in La Jolla were kicked off their property. Can you imagine the wealth that would be in 2021 if they could have kept their wealth at that time? So when you see the civil rights movement of Dr. King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Shirley Chisholm, Angela Davis, Fannie Lou Hamer, the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, the original Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, we see a tradition and a culture of supporting and fighting to thrive and survive in a white supremacist community, which is the fight of Black Lives Matter. That brings us all the way up to 2014, when Black Lives Matter as an organization formed. They caught lightning in a bottle by naming it Black Lives Matter. It flows off our tongue. It's easy to remember. It has certain meaning and value, and it reaches back to the ancestors of what we struggled to get here. But here locally, we have our Black Lives Matter. As you read earlier, inciting all of those names of the people that we lost, the Alfred Alongos, the Earl McNeils, the Jonathan Cornells, the Sergio Wicks, the Raul Riveras, the Vincent Furman Valenzuelas, and all of the laundry list of names we have here locally. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a countless struggle of numerous incidents that we have to survive and start over again from destruction of xenophobia, white supremacy. Black Lives Matter is not only self-defense. Black Lives Matter is enfranchisement. It's taking care of Black families. It's supporting Black businesses. It's raising Black youth. And with that being said, I wanted to give an overall view of what Black Lives Matter really means. Although I'm talking to the choir, because the people on this panel with me today are really, as always, switched on, plugged in, and speak from their hearts and souls. But anyone who's watching this and listening to this anywhere around the world, please understand that we are in a struggle for our lives. It is not an inconvenience that we're fighting against. It is for our lives. And I want to say, as I'm honoring Black lives, I want to say that we as Black lives, we stand with our Asian brothers and sisters who lost their lives. We stand with our border brothers and sisters who have been, the border has crossed them and they've been penalized by this border and this xenophobia from the border. We stand with our white poor brothers and sisters. We stand with our Arab brothers and sisters who are experiencing the same types of injustices. We stand with our LGBTQ brothers and sisters who are experiencing these justices, our indigenous brothers and sisters, North, Central, and South America. You are all indigenous. We all love you and we stand here by your side. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I didn't go over too long. Thank you so much.
Not at all, sir. Thank you very much. Salam alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay. Everybody doing okay? You getting your money's worth? All right, Claire, I'm glad you're here. Good to see you. And we're going to move on now. Gloria Verdue is listening in. She is the author of Black August, 1619 to 2019. And Gloria, if you could put how they can purchase your book in the chat, I would appreciate it. I've got a copy right here, and it's a pretty amazing book. All the names that we read, we obtained from that book. And she's also an activist grandma. She's watching her grandchildren right now, but she sent us a film that keep my fingers crossed on when I'm doing technology. Hold on a second. Okay, let me ask you something. Can you hear what I'm about ready to do?
Yes.
I'm gonna hit something.
Yes, we can hear it.
Okay, let's just listen to her.
Okay, all right.
A memoriam for Black Lives Matter. Thank you to all the poets, speakers, and everyone listening for continuing the movement to stop police killing and police brutality. It is always an honor to be in this space with so many talented, socially active poets. I am a writer for Struggle to Lucha, an online publication and member of the Socialist Unity Party. I am also a member of the Coalition to Free Mumia Abu Jamal and all political prisoners, and the Committee Against Police Brutality San Diego, CAPB. I recently moved to Texas in January 2020 in the midst of this pandemic. I miss my San Diego friends and comrades. Black August 1619-2019 is a compilation of articles by local San Diego activists, writers, artists, and intellectuals. Professors Michael Odom and Dennis Childs, author and political diplomat at UC Guayana, Sylvia Telefaro, Curtis Howard, Carl Muhammad, Zola Rices, and Mary Lou Finley. This book was a work of Black and Brown love dedicated to the stolen lives in San Diego and a tribute to the stolen lives of enslaved Africans commemorating the 400th anniversary of the first Africans to arrive in Jamestown, Virginia. San Diego at one time was rated #1 for police killings. The names listed in this book is a partial list of stolen lives between 1985 and 2019. We may never know the real numbers and names because there is no city, state, or national government mandated database for publicly recording the names of men, women, and children killed by police and law enforcement agencies. Many of these names bring memories of friends and family members that I have spoken with, rallied with at demonstrations on the corner of Imperial and Logan and in front of the Hall of Injustice in downtown San Diego. Sagan Penn, Demetrius DeBose, Billy Venable, whose family put up a bench in front of the Encanto Rec Center in his memory. Sons of Ray Holloway and Victor Ortega are just a few. CAPB started listing the names of people killed by the San Diego police right around 1999 after the police killings of former National Football League linebacker Demetrius DeBose over 20 years ago. The Stolen Lives Project, which is a part of the nationwide October 22nd coalition to stop police brutality, began collecting data in 1990. The first edition of Stolen Lives was published in 1997 in preparation for the second annual October 22nd National Day of Protest to Stop Police Brutality. CAPB joined the Stolen Lives Project in the October 22nd coalition. In 2013, Malcolm X Grassroots released a disturbing 2012 report that found a Black person is killed by the police, security personnel, or vigilantes in the US every 28 hours. In 2015, the Washington Post began a database, Killed by the Police, listing 993 names of people shot by the police, 258 Black, 209 Latinx, and other people of color. In 2015, The Guardian published a database, The Counted, which listed 1,146 people killed by law enforcement, 307 Black, 237 Latinx, and other people of color. In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Washington Post listed 1,021 people shot and killed by the police in the US, 243 Black, 198 Latinx, and other people of color. The numbers and names recorded in Washington Post are lower because the Washington Post does not count people who died in police custody, were killed by off-duty police, by vigilantes, security guards, or people killed by police while in pursuit. Some examples of people not included would be Freddie Gray, Leah Jenkins, Ahmaud Arbery, Marilyn Barnes, and George Floyd. Even with its flaws, the Washington Post database is important and commendable because collecting this data is huge. It is estimated that law enforcement kills an average of 3 people per day. The numbers are not slowing down because as of April 21st, 2021, 284 people have been shot and killed by police, 60 Black, 41 Latinx and other people of color, and 71 are race unknown. It's a lot going on, and I want to speak on the urgency of the movement to release all prisoners. Over 20% of U.S. prison inmates are over 50 years old, and a large percentage of those have pre-existing medical conditions. It was reported on December 2020 that 1 in 5 prisoners in the U.S. have had COVID-19, and 1,700 have died. This is a vast undercount because there are many prisons where when inmates get sick, they do not get tested, and some will not report they are sick because of fear of being placed in the hold, solitary confinement. Today, there is no sign that the spread of the virus is slowing. This is a crisis for all prisoners, but especially for our elders who are behind bars because of their involvement in political activity. They are not going to be considered for prison release recommended by public health experts to scale back prison population. Prisoners such as 66-year-old Mumia Abu Jamal, 39 years incarcerated, tested positive for COVID-19 and has other pre-existing medical conditions. 84-year-old Sandiata Akola, 50 years incarcerated, has tested positive for COVID-19. 82-year-old Rochelle McGee, 57 years incarcerated. 77-year-old Native American Leonard Peltier, 43 years incarcerated. 77-year-old Russell Maroon Schultz, 48 years incarcerated, has tested positive for COVID-19 and has pre-existing medical conditions. 77-year-old Ed Poindexter, 48 years incarcerated. 77-year-old Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin, also known as H. Rap Brown, 19 years incarcerated. 71-year-old Matula Shakur, 33 years incarcerated. These are just a few. There are hundreds more. The families and friends of incarcerated freedom fighters do not want any of them to die locked down in prisons, jails, and detention centers. They want them to be home where they can be properly taken care of, loved, touched, and nurtured with human kindness. The only treatment is freedom. This message was echoed by Mumia Abu Jamal's medical consultant, Dr. Ricardo Alvarez. Mumia means so much to so many people. I have much revolutionary love for Mumia. He is over 60 years old, has recently tested positive for COVID-19, has cirrhosis of the liver, congestive heart failure, and other pre-existing medical conditions that place him at a high risk of dying from this deadly disease. Mumia is currently recovering from open heart surgery performed on April 20th. He is a survivor. Throughout it all, his focus is always on the worldwide struggle for justice. Tomorrow, April 24th, is Mumia's 67th birthday. The International Concerned Family and Friends of Mumia Abu Jamal is calling on people in all cities and towns throughout the United States to gather in public spaces to demand that Mumia be released immediately. No gathering is too small. Hold up a poster, a handmade flyer, or message, wear a t-shirt or a button expressing support for Mumia's release and full proper medical care. Post photos on social media. Send a message to Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf and Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner that Mumia must be released now. Write to Mumia individual or have everyone in your group sign a card collectively and mail it. Visit Jamal Journal for details. In San Diego, we are preparing to meet. We are planning to meet outside in front of the Malcolm X Library to send our revolutionary birthday greetings to Mamiya. We will take a picture, hold a poster of Mamiya, sign a card, and show our solidarity with the movement to free Mamiya and all political prisoners immediately. Free them all because it's the right thing to do. We ask that you join us tomorrow at 2:30 at Malcolm X Library on Market Street. The overall goal of the movement is for the permanent release of Mumia Abu-Jamal and all prisoners, especially those over 50 years old who have tested positive for COVID-19, have been exposed to COVID-19, or have pre-existing medical conditions that place them at high risk of dying if infected. Thank you for listening.
Gloria is with us listening. If you want to give her some snaps or some love. Thank you, Gloria. Well, we're down to our last two poets. I want to say something about Mark Littman. The reason that we have Evolutionary Poets Brigade here in San Diego is because I heard him read with some members of the LA chapter at the World Beat Center a few years ago. And the power of their poetry was just amazing. I probably felt like I was 35 again, and I was ready to march against the Vietnam War like I did back in the 70s. And he's involved with a whole bunch of social justice right now. If you get a hold of this book, it's called Revolutionary Poets Brigade. It's put together by Jack Hirschman, who started the first chapter in San Francisco. You can open it up to the table of contents, and the two poems that Mark has written is The Last Thing I Remember in the Dirt of Despair. And so he's a published poet. He's a strong leader. He is going to ask him if he would read tonight. Actually, he asked me if he could read tonight. He contacted me first, and I just emailed him back right away. So we always have room for you, brother. This is a very strong patriot of our country because he's really unpopular with politicians who don't give a damn about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. This is Mark Littman.
Unpopular with the politicians. That's my lead. It's true. Actually, right now, and thank you so much for that very kind introduction, Jim. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for opening space for me, and thanks for showing the anthology. Jack and I worked very hard on that, and that's the first big anthology that we put together. So I'm very proud of that one. Currently, so you know, I'm the serving vice chair of Culver City's Committee on Homelessness. And as we all know, homelessness is very much a racial justice issue, with 8% of the population in our area being Black and 42% of the homeless population being Black. It's very much a racial justice issue. And so I just want to lift up our unhoused brothers and sisters who often just get unseen. And right now we are in the process of pushing to refund the people and get some justice in our budget. That's why you see the sign behind me. I'd like to do this first poem standing, actually. It's written for Brendan Glenn, who was shot and killed by LAPD up here in Venice on May 5th, 2015. And here it goes. Can you hear me from here? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. sitting alone in a cold, damp alley, nothing but stars above me. Here come the lights all shiny and bright, sirens and badges, they haunt me. Hands in the air and down on the ground, they're pulling their guns, and though I'm unarmed and pose a threat to nobody, they've come to shoot me down just because of my poverty. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. If you're black or brown or homeless in this town, they throw you to the ground. The verdict is already guilty. If you're a suit and tie, you turn your back and lie, making money while we die, shutting your ears to our story. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. We put our hands in the air saying, don't shoot, don't you dare, but the politicians just don't care. They only serve and protect the money. So don't act all surprised when the people begin to rise and call out all your lies. This is the voice of the many. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but the police are out to kill me. Thank you. I want to share one more poem with you. And just so we do give homage, Al Young Presente. We lost another California poet laureate, so I just wanted to put a word up for Al. This poem goes out to Amiri Baraka. Amiri Baraka told me last night that when they're dishing out the punishment, how much you receive will match exactly to what you're willing to take. If they kick you in the ass 3 times and you don't say a word, you can be sure that number 4 is waiting right around the corner. When you finally stand up and fight back and make a ruckus, that's when they'll take you serious. When they want to silence your words, you had better speak louder, just like Robeson did when they stole his passport, setting up a stage on the US side of the border as thousands of Canadians lined up on the other side to hear what he had to say. If they won't print your words, start your own publishing house. If they won't let you on the stage, start your own theater. If what you've got to say is making them that uncomfortable, then you're on the right track. When you're lying on your back, chained to the floor at the bottom of a boat, wondering how you got there alone in the darkness, and they've taken your boom, boom away from you. When they've taken your boom, boom away from you, you know you're in some serious shit. It may take generations and hundreds of years for you to get that back, but you owe it to that river of bones lying at the bottom of the Atlantic to keep the fight alive. Injustice never goes away. The struggle is always with us. The only question is, what are you going to do about it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. You just shot me back to 1972. And I was the coordinator for Vietnam Veterans Against the War for Central Florida. And no, it was 1971. And we did a fast against the war for Thanksgiving. And we had a lot of media coverage. And we exposed a lot of Nixon's lies. And that was the kind of poems that we were reading back then. Thank you, Mark. Make me feel young again. Almost.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you all.
Okay. So we're down to our last poet and our last film clip before we do the open mic. Thank you for hanging in there and being patient with my ignorance about electronics. And Al, God bless you. Thank you for being with us to help us muscle through this. Joe Meloche is a Vietnam era veteran with myself. He is a Pushcart nominee, Pushcart Prize. He is a published poet, and he's someone that when we have him with us, we always know he's going to either talk about Uncle Bob or he's going to talk about his pet clam, and then let us know that those things have nothing to do with his poem. so that we can remember to smile as we're dealing with all this tragedy. Sometimes a smile is the only thing we can do. I have been blessed by having him as a friend and as a colleague. We're about ready to publish a book. It's going to probably be out in the next 2 weeks if things go right, about Steve Cowett's poetry. And we're hoping that it will be published by Bill Harding, who does the San Diego Poetry Annual in the next couple of weeks. And we've never had an argument. We probably eat too much bad food together, but that can come with age as well. Please welcome the very talented Joe Malash.
All right, yeah. You know, I was thinking today how life is so strange. You know, I was going to say I had a little funny story to say, but this is just kind of too somber of an occasion. Because when you think of all that's been going on in this country, and we get so narrowly focused, we really don't get the full measure of the power that Black Lives Matter has done. They have spread throughout the world. They were being supported first in France and Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg, and then as the movement moved on in those countries, they started working for social justice among the immigrants and the refugees. And it's in Japan and in Hong Kong and in Myanmar, and the people are out on the streets and they're getting shot and they're dying. And and then we get a little bit of good news with a guilty verdict, and everyone in the world is celebrating it, and it's energizing the protests. And so we sometimes just get centered on America, and that we have enough to be centered on for sure. But I just wanted to mention that globally, what happened with Black Lives Matters just extended beyond borders. And it's just impressive to me. But so I'm just going to move into a poem. I'm going to read it out of my last book. Home Plate Was a Heart and Other Stories. This is my third book, but I didn't do anything to promote it. And it got nominated for an American Book Award and for the best book by a small press in 2020. So it just shows you that if you do nothing, something happens. So that's my new thing from now on. I'm going to do more of nothing and see what happens. This is called If It Wasn't for Soul. In the past, all my cities had nightclubs, but in the morning, the clubs seemed to fade among liquor stores, warehouses, and garages. In one town, the people who attended these clubs were invisible until they returned to their home. Occasionally, they became visible at night. Then the men wore suits and ties, and the women wore dresses and gloves, as if they were going to see the Motown Revue at the Fox Theater in Detroit. It was 1966, and only the naive believed a mixed couple could purchase tickets at the doors of these clubs. For an interracial couple, there might well have been a law that prohibited tickets from being sold within 2,000 feet of one of these clubs. Therefore, certain club goers were forced to buy their tickets separately. One afternoon, a sliver of the moon became visible before dusk, and a young man walked with a young woman in a golden dress. Pleasantly, she laughed when he told her that he would purchase tickets for them at the door of the club up the street. It was as if he believed they lived in another country. Then the sound of a transistor radio came from a car parked at the curb. Lee Allen's voice came across the airways. The couple listened. The disc jockey played Motown and Stax, the Righteous Brothers and James Brown. The man went into the liquor store and purchased a couple of Cokes. He returned to share his drinks with her as she weaved in rhythm to the melodies. As they listened to the music, they danced, ignoring the passerby who said, "The trouble with soul music is," and meant that it was black music. But if it wasn't for soul music, the young couple might not have danced in the open as they listened to the radio. After the music ended, they held hands, knowing, I suppose, they might never feel as free again. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
And if you would like to Google this, the title is of it to hear all 24 minutes. The title is "The Broken Policing System: Patriot Act" with Hassan Minhaj on Netflix. Okay, let's see. It's time now to start the open mic. And I have some names here that I like to do. If we've been doing this for a while and we're over, if you need to wash your face or go get a soda or something, please feel free to do that. But I'm going to jump right in to the open mic. Sylvia Telefaro was supposed to be here from the African American Writers and Artists, and she is not here. What we're going to do is the people that are on this open mic list are going to read one poem to us. And I wanted to ask Claire, are you going to read tonight? Are you going to read a poem tonight, dear?
If there's time.
You betcha. Okay, I got your name down. I think that's the only person I didn't ask, so we'll have you then. So our first poet tonight just featured at Second Sunday Jimmy Poetry. She's a really wonderful poet. She's trying to right now become a volunteer to work in juvenile hall. And I hope that we can make that happen for her. This is Anjuli Nunn.
Thank you, Jim. A couple of you may have heard this already, but I'm going to say it again. It's called Black. An eternity is not what you think of when you see stripes down my back, shackles that give no slack whatsoever to whatever clever excuse I try to come up with to whisk away years of no, not fear, but sheer terror, laden to my psyche, not by error, but by systemic racism. The catechism of a nation soaked in elation of a new election, a collection of the summaries of dark humor, steeped in angry riots of COVID-19 fights that were once internal fights, now becoming external, only to exterminate the love I have tried to shove into your direction. This is not a resurrection, it is pure hatred, white against black and black back to white as the night grows colder and colder. And all I wanted to do was to hold her and tell her everything will be okay, to sing to the Almighty that we have fight left in us, just wait and see. But why fight? Why hate? Why call the police when feats like this need not be seen by other men, by your neighbors, by my sister, my mother, my brother, your sin? We all carry sin. We all cannot win with educational degrees and the fees we pay so that white men do not slay me like a slab of meat at the feet of beggars wanting more violence. inciting more hatred against whom? You? No, me. Yes, me. It happened to me. I see this as a wake-up call, puzzle pieces finally falling into place so that we can make haste to share with our community the educational dignity that is needed to combat this disease called hatred. Heed my word. I carry no sword, no stone, no weapon, but one tongue, slicked back with all the blackness I can muster to state out loud and clearly that enough is enough. And I will hold this badge of experience with honor until it rusts, fades away into dust, and all that's left is pure and utter empathy and mutual understanding. Thank you for your time, and if you will allow me to end with one more rhyme. It's not something that time will tell. It's up to us to muster up the courage to share our stories so that as a collective, racism stays not as an elective on a roster, but as a crime. We can foster the education needed to see that these words are heeded. I have nothing more to say but to slay racism at the root and to give it the boot off of the playground for good. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali. If I die tomorrow, you're one of the reasons that I feel like we'll be in good shape. You're the next generation that will carry the torch. Thank you for coming tonight. David Lagenhorst, do you feel like reading, sir?
So, yeah, Jim, I'm, if I can get this open, 1 second. I'm gonna read someone else's poem. Before I do, I'd just like to repeat something that someone else said. But as a white man, I will never understand, but I will stand. I will stand with you. This poem is by Howard Debs, and it's called 2:46 a.m. Chicago. It starts with a bang. A 21-year-old, a 13-year-old. 8 shots ring out, aiming for a passing car. Police on the scene. The teen on the run. A gun in his hand. One officer, a 34-year-old, chasing down an alley, running. The cop yells, "Stop." The gun, "Drop it." Running, "Drop it." An opening in a fence, stopping, "Drop it." Turn around, hands up. A split second. 1 shot fired. 1 dead. Thank you. The 2:46 a.m. is when the young man lost his life.
Thank you, David. Claire Acamando, do you want to read now, ma'am?
Okay,
Thank you for coming.
this is a homage to Steve Coet. I took a class with him at Southwestern College and he turned me on to poetry. And I was very affected by his death in April. So this is the month. It's postscript to poet Steve Coet. On a bright April night, you die in a blink with no goodbye. You who gave life back to a beach minnow, saved fence vaulters from La Migra. You who rescued birds, rodents, fed feral cats, evacuated animals during wildfires. You let go, you die. How could you leave your wife, your dogs, your saved animals, your lizards, your friends, your students without a hug, a wink, or a see you later? Teacher, poet, your work's not done yet. We need our diet of distilled words, our weekly fix of nurturing, and triple shot of inspiration. I'll be in class tonight. Expect to see you there. Turquoise rings on your fingers, wearing jeans, and your old belly stretch sweater. You'll drop your bulging backpack on the desk, rummage through your paper stack, struggle with the overhead, last projector on campus, while talking about your battle with Blackwater. You'll uncoil cords, check the scary halogen bulb, push the cart this way and that, and let us know how you kicked ass and kept mercenaries out of Potrero, your little corner of the planet near the Mexico border. Transparency on glass, ready for class. Words imprint the wall, crawl to ceiling in linear migration. Sandwiched between machine and screen, blue eyes unblinking, you'll morph from passionate activist to gentle teacher. Your pewter-colored curls form tendrils on the black mural, like vegetation atop the giant silhouette sinkhole behind you. You'll speak melodious words, tough, tender words, fragrant words, words that spill, spiral, and specify, words that seduce, colonize, bulldoze our minds, words that will aggrandize and stay with us in lieu of you, and brand us like brain tattoo. Joy to the fish you saved from dying by tossing it back into the ocean. As to me now, I wish the damn minnow were dead and you, ankle deep, alive, ankle deep in receding tide, sneakers swung over your shoulder, watching the sun shimmer gold dust over the surface of the Pacific before diving without a splatter into deeper water.
Thank you, Claire. I wanted to ask you in a good way if you would send that to jimpoet@hotmail.com, because I'd like to give that to his widow, Mary Cowett. I think she would really like that, if it's okay with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. Bruce Gordon, are you going to read to us? I think he might have retired. Which brings us to our last poet, one of my heroes. I was standing next to him when the Iraq War happened at 2002. We were at Horton Plaza, and he had a bullhorn that he was doing chants to all the people that were there against that war. And in those days, I didn't need a bullhorn, as both my ex-wives will tell you. And he kind of looked at me after he'd do a chant and then I'd do a chant. And then he just handed the bullhorn to me and walked away. That's how I met Dan Watman. This is a friend of so many things about freedom. I can't announce them. And I've known him for a long time and have a lot of respect for him as a writer, as an activist, and as someone who wants freedom for all people. This is Dan Watman.
Jeez, thank you, Jim. It's great to have been your friend all these years, and I'm really happy to see you, even if it's virtual. Hope I get to give you a hug sometime soon. I just have one short poem. It's called Haiku Dream for the Borderlands. The walls become leaves, the smokestacks towering trees, and the people free.
Oh, you got to run that one by us again.
Oh, okay.
Haiku type poems get to be heard twice.
Okay. Haiku Dream for the Borderlands. The walls become leaves, the smokestacks towering trees, and the people free.
Aha. Thank you, sir. And I'm hoping you will say hello to Doña Berta for me. I know you see her. Mr. Gordon, are you going to read something to us, sir?
Yes, sir.
This is
Hola,
Bruce Gordon.
profesor.
Hola.
Hola, maestro.
Bruce, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, sir. Oh, ¿listo para mí? Are you
Yes,
ready
sí.
for me, Jim?
Listo, señor.
Okay. This is called keeping watch. I keep a pocket watch on the end table next to my recliner. I keep her wound tight and never use her for telling time. She's made from a 4-bit piece. Her face is a Liberty head $50. Miss Liberty is gold plated. The L in Liberty stands at 9 o'clock and arches up to 12 and then bends down with the letter Y at 3 o'clock. Uncle Sam called my grandfather to defend Miss Liberty in the war to end all wars. My father fought for her honor in the war after that. Uncle Joe in Korea, Vietnam was about to fall like dominoes, so I stepped up. It was there that I first saw Liberty's garments soiled. I saw the chains at the feet of her statue. Brother Relford and I sat out near the perimeter at Benoit Air Base sharing a smoke. We both spoke of the generations of men in our families who took up arms to ensure liberty for all. He said his parents were not allowed to vote in the last election. He was there with me fighting for something he and his family would not see when he got back home. That loud crack of a 122 rocket was our first warning. Head for the bunker. I dove in. After what seemed like a night of bombs bursting in air, the whirl, whiz, and thud boom just stopped. I couldn't find Relford. When I did, I applied pressure to his abdomen so his insides would not gush out. He gave me his Liberty head watch. He said, "Liberty for all. You are a white man. They will listen when you say our national anthem was written by a slave owner. They will listen when you say he did not sing liberty for all. This is your watch now," he said. "It's on your watch." Thank you.
And Bruce. Can we show some love for our guest artists that came tonight? Dolores Fisher, Yusef Miller, Gloria Verdue, Mark Littman from the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, Los Angeles, for our open mic poets, and for my brothers and sisters in the brigade. And you are the Iron Core audience. You withstood a lot. I have a couple of announcements I like to make, and then I have a poem I'd like to read to you by Joy Harjo called Remember. She is a Native American Poet Laureate of the United States, and she is now about ready to serve her 3rd term as Poet Laureate because she's been helping people that have COVID you write poetry about what they're going through. Pilar and Gerardo Navarro have a bookstore in Tijuana. And if you look over the border, you see an arch that goes way above the skyline. And right at the bottom of that arch is a street. There's a place called Enclave Caracol, where we have done some readings over there. And there is a wax museum right across from the Enclave Caracol. And if you keep going down that street 2 blocks, their bookstore is very accessible to you. And so if you're down in Tijuana and you want to give them your business, that would be appreciated. The 2nd Sunday in May, the 2nd Sunday Jimmy Poetry Open Mic is sponsoring a fundraiser for Liz Fest, which is the foundation that Elizabeth Weedmark died in an automobile accident about 5 years ago, and her parents, Nathan and Anita Weedmark, started Liz Fest And basically what we're gonna do is have a way for people to contribute to the Liz Fest Foundation, which gives scholarships to young people who want to learn how to play music just for pleasure or for performance. And we'll have a thing set up, Venmo or PayPal or something in the chat room. If you want to attend second Sunday at 3 o'clock on the second Sunday of May and help them out, that would be nice. We want to also put a shout out for the committee who's trying to get police off the high school and college campuses in California. And you can Google that if you want to. Also, what's coming up is the Revolutionary Poets Brigade is going to be working with the African American writers and artists to help a poetry reading for Juneteenth. And what Juneteenth is about is 2 years after the end of the Civil War, news got to Texas that the slaves were free. And that's when they finally got to be free. And we don't want to forget that. And so we'll be doing that. Thank you so much for coming. This is called Remember. This is by Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father, he is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is, that life is. Remember, remember. Thank you for coming. I'm with the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, the San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and we believe that friendship strengthens borders and not militarization. We hope we have comforted the disturbed tonight, but we also hope we have disturbed the comfortable. Good night, everybody.